everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're going to be looking at an excerpt from an article titled, Why We Owe Everything to the Generations Before Us. It's a really interesting look at how everything we kind of take for granted in the modern world, like our food, our technology, even our cities. All this stuff is built on the efforts of those who came way before us. And so today we're going to dive into this concept and really unpack what it means for us living here, in the 21st century.
It sounds fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing when you really start to think about it. For example, let's take something as basic as food.
Okay.
We all love a good crunchy carrot, right? But did you know that those bright orange carrots we buy at the store are actually like a totally different thing from what their ancestors looked like?
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're talking about like a scraggly purple root. And it took farmers like generations and generations to selectively breed them to get to that sweet, vibrant vegetable that we know and love today.
Huh. I had no idea. That's incredible.
Yeah, and it's not just about looks either.
Right.
The domestication of wild plants like einkorn wheat, which was like this super tough and like not very tasty grain.
Oh, I bet.
Took thousands of years of like human intervention.
Really?
Yeah, like through careful selection and crossbreeding, they slowly but surely increased the size of the grains and the yield. And eventually they transformed it into the modern wheat that we use to make our bread and pasta.
That's amazing. Like agricultural engineering on a massive scale.
Exactly. It's really mind-boggling, the level of dedication it took. And I don't know about you, but it really makes me appreciate my meals a lot more.
Absolutely.
Like every time I sit down to eat, I think, wow, this food is a gift from like countless generations. But this idea of building on the work of those who came before us, it's not just about food, right? The article also talks about infrastructure, cities, and even the Roman Empire.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, the Romans were, they were incredible builders and engineers.
They were, yeah.
Think about their mastery of concrete.
Right. That allowed them to build these huge and awe-inspiring structures like the Colosseum and the Pantheon. And these buildings are still standing today after like centuries.
That's unbelievable. Yeah.
It is. And they also developed these really advanced aqueducts to bring fresh water into their cities.
That's right. Yeah.
And their road system was so advanced, it helped to connect their vast empire.
Yeah, they don't get enough credit for that.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
And, these innovations weren't just for show either. They were tackling very real challenges of their time, like population growth and sanitation and transportation. And the solutions they came up with, well, we're still using variations of them today.
Yeah, that's true.
So they really laid the groundwork, like literally for modern civilization.
They did.
But they weren't exactly starting from scratch, were they?
No, not at all.
They borrowed and adapted ideas from the Greeks and Egyptians and other civilizations, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so tell me a bit more about that. Well, the Romans were, they were masters at taking existing knowledge and then refining it. They studied the architectural achievements of the Greeks and the irrigation systems of the Egyptians and even the mathematical concepts of the Mesopotamians. It's like this passing of the torch, this preservation and expansion of knowledge. And that's something that really is a recurring theme throughout history, I think. It's like a relay race where each generation receives the baton of knowledge from the one before it and then carries it forward, adding their own kind of insights and discoveries along the way.
I love that analogy. And, it makes me think about the evolution of medicine.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going from roads and aqueducts to, stethoscopes and surgeries.
Yeah, that's a big leap.
It is, but I'm ready for it.
Okay, well, think about it this way. Early medical practices, like in ancient Egypt, were really focused on observation and practical remedies. They understood the importance of hygiene. They developed some pretty sophisticated surgical techniques, and they even had specialized doctors for different ailments.
That's amazing for such an early civilization.
It is, and then, then came the Greeks, with figures like Hippocrates, who we consider the father of Western medicine. He really emphasized careful observation, clinical documentation, and ethical practices.
So he was kind of setting the stage for modern medical ethics.
He really was. And we can't forget about the Islamic Golden Age either. During this period, scholars translated and preserved a lot of those ancient Greek medical texts. And they also made their own groundbreaking discoveries in fields like optics and pharmacology and surgery.
Wow. So without their work, we might have lost all that valuable knowledge from the Greeks.
Exactly.
It's really mind-blowing to think that without those efforts all those years ago, we wouldn't have all the medical advancements that we benefit from today.
That's right.
Every vaccine, every surgery, every life-saving treatment, it's all built upon this long chain of human effort and innovation.
It really is a testament to human ingenuity.
But I do have to ask, how did all of these ideas actually survive for centuries? I mean, we're talking about times before the printing press and the internet.
Right.
Like, how did knowledge spread and get passed down?
Well, that's where the magic of language and storytelling comes in.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, from the earliest cave paintings to the development of written language. Humans have always had this deep-seated desire to share their experiences and their knowledge with others. I mean, think about the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the oldest known works of literature.
It is.
And it's a story about mortality and friendship and the search for meaning. And those are themes that still resonate with us today, even after thousands of years.
That's true.
And then you have the ancient Greek epics like the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Oh, yeah, classics.
All right.
Yeah.
And they not only entertained people, but they also transmitted cultural values and historical knowledge.
So stories weren't just for entertainment.
No, they were a way to preserve and transmit knowledge across generations.
It's fascinating how those voices from the past can still speak to us today.
They do.
And it really reminds us of the power of language itself, right?
It does.
I mean, we're sitting here having this conversation,
Yeah.
exchanging complex ideas,
Uh-huh.
and it's all thanks to the evolution of language.
It is, yeah.
But speaking of evolution,
Okay.
let's talk about science and technology for a bit.
Right.
I mean, we're literally experiencing the culmination of centuries of scientific discovery right now.
Oh, we are, yeah.
The device you're using to listen to this,
Mm-hmm.
the internet that connects us, even the electricity that's powering our homes, all of it is a testament to the unbroken chain of scientific discovery.
I hadn't thought about it like that.
It's pretty amazing, right?
It is, yeah.
And it all started with, people like Archimedes figuring out basic principles of mechanics, and Galileo bravely confirming the heliocentric model of the solar system, even though he faced some pretty serious opposition for that, for challenging the prevailing view at the time.
Oh, yeah, he did.
And then came pioneers like Faraday and Maxwell and Tesla, who unlocked the secrets of electromagnetism and paved the way for the electric revolution that transformed our world.
Yeah.
Wow, it's just incredible to think about how all of these discoveries built upon each other over time
It is.
and how they led to the world that we live in today.
It's really quite a story.
It is, but it makes me wonder.
What's that?
Well, we've been focusing on the positive aspects of this inherited legacy.
Right.
The achievements, the breakthroughs.
Mm-hmm.
But history isn't always a pretty picture, is it?
No, it's not.
What about the less admirable parts of our past? The conquests, the exploitation, the injustices?
That's a really important point,
Yeah.
and one that we can't ignore.
So how do we reconcile this sense of gratitude for all the progress we've inherited
Mm-hmm.
with the knowledge of all the injustices that have been committed along the way? Where do we go from here?
That's a big question, and it's one that we'll start to unpack in part 2 of our deep dive. It's a complex question, and there aren't any easy answers, really. But I think it starts with just acknowledging the full scope of our history, both the triumphs and the tragedies.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
We need to remember the countless individuals who were marginalized or oppressed or even just completely erased from the historical narrative.
Absolutely.
It's about facing those uncomfortable truths, not shying away from them.
But how do we do that without getting bogged down in all the negativity, It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the sheer weight of history.
I hear you. It can feel heavy. But that's where the idea of agency comes in. Recognizing that even within those dark chapters of human history, there were always individuals who fought for a better world.
That's a good point.
Think about the abolitionists who so bravely challenged the institution of slavery, or the suffragettes who fought tirelessly for women's right to vote, and the civil rights leaders who faced down incredible discrimination and prejudice to advance equality for all.
Their courage is truly inspiring.
It is.
And their legacy is a call to action for all of us, isn't it?
I think so.
It's like they're saying, we fought for a better future, now it's your turn to carry the torch.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of carrying the torch,
Okay.
I can't help but think about the environmental challenges that we're facing right now. We've inherited this incredible planet,
Yeah.
but we've also caused, a lot of damage.
It's a sobering reality, for sure. The article really highlights the alarming decline in global wildlife populations. A 69% average decline in just the last 50 years.
That's a staggering loss.
It is. It's a staggering loss of biodiversity. And essentially, we're living through what scientists are calling the sixth mass extinction.
The sixth mass extinction.
Yeah.
I'll admit I've heard that term, but I don't think I fully grasp it.
Right.
What exactly defines a mass extinction?
Well, in Earth's long history, there have been 5 previous mass extinction events, each one wiping out a significant percentage of life on the planet. And these events were triggered by, catastrophic natural disasters, like asteroid impacts or massive volcanic eruptions.
Oh, wow.
But what makes the sixth mass extinction unique is that it's being driven primarily by us, by human activities.
Really?
Yeah, things like deforestation and habitat destruction and pollution and climate change.
So we're not just losing individual species then.
Right.
We're disrupting the entire, the web of life that sustains the planet.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
It's not just about saving cute animals or anything like that. It's about protecting the very systems that make life on Earth possible.
Right.
And the article really emphasizes that if we don't change course, we're robbing future generations of a chance to experience a healthy and thriving planet.
It's a lot to think about.
It is. It's a heavy responsibility, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is.
But it's also a powerful reminder that our choices today have consequences that will reverberate for generations to come.
It is. It's like that saying, we don't inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. We need to shift our mindset from short-term gain to long-term sustainability.
I completely agree. And the article highlights how important long-term thinking is, especially when it comes to environmental stewardship. It's about making choices that benefit not just ourselves, but also those who will come after us. It's about planting trees whose shade we may never enjoy, investing in renewable energy sources, and advocating for policies that protect our natural resources.
It's about understanding that we're part of something so much bigger than ourselves, that we're all connected across time and space.
Yes, that's it, exactly.
And speaking of looking beyond our immediate surroundings,
Okay.
the article also touches on something I find really awe-inspiring: humanity's drive to explore space.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It is. For the first time in history, we're not just gazing up at the stars, we're reaching out to touch them. We've sent rovers to Mars, launched telescopes that can peer into the depths of the universe, and we're even planning missions to distant stars.
It's incredible.
It is. And these endeavors, while they might seem like extravagant pursuits to some people,
Right.
they're actually deeply connected to this idea of legacy.
They are.
I'm curious about that connection.
Yeah.
How does space exploration relate to the legacy we inherit and the one we leave behind?
Well, on a very practical level, space exploration pushes the boundaries of science and technology, leading to innovations that often have very real and tangible benefits here on Earth. Think about GPS technology, satellite communications, even medical imaging techniques, which were originally developed for space missions.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. But on a deeper level, space exploration is about our innate human desire to understand our place in the universe, to push the limits of human knowledge, and to ensure the survival of our species. It's about dreaming big and inspiring future generations to reach for the stars.
So we're carrying on that legacy of exploration that's always been a part of the human story. From early humans migrating across continents, to explorers charting new lands, to scientists probing the mysteries of the universe. We've always been driven by this thirst for discovery and this desire to push the boundaries of what's possible.
We have, and I don't think that's ever going to change.
Me neither. So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've explored the concept of legacy, the interconnectedness of human progress, and the responsibility that we all bear for shaping a better future.
We have.
But what does it all mean for us? What are the key takeaways for us, the listeners?
Well, that's a great question, and it's one that we'll start to explore in part 3 of our deep dive.
Okay, wow, so much to think about after that last segment. We've been talking about ancient civilizations and medical breakthroughs and even space exploration, and it all kind of boils down to this idea of legacy, right? Like what we inherit from the past and what we pass on to the future. And honestly, it can feel a little overwhelming, like where do I fit into all of this?
Yeah, I could see how it would feel that way. It's a lot to take in. But the article actually addresses that feeling directly. It's not about feeling burdened by the weight of history. It's about feeling empowered by it.
Okay.
You see, understanding this chain of progress, it's not about dwelling on the past. It's about recognizing our own potential to shape the future.
I'm starting to see that shift in perspective. But I still have to admit, when you look at the scale of like all the challenges we're facing today, climate change, social inequality, all the technological disruption, it's easy to feel like one person can't make a real difference.
I get it. It's easy to feel small in the face of all that. But here's the thing. It's not about single-handedly solving all the world's problems. It's about recognizing that our actions, even the seemingly small ones, they have a ripple effect.
Oh, interesting.
Think about it. Every time you choose to recycle, or you support a local business, or even just offer a kind word to a stranger, you're adding a positive ripple to the world.
That's a nice way to think about it.
And those ripples, when you multiply them across millions of individuals, well, they can create a real wave of change.
So it's less about like grand gestures
Yeah.
and more about the small conscious choices we make in our everyday lives.
Exactly.
Okay.
The article really emphasizes that true progress isn't always about monumental breakthroughs. It's often about the accumulation of small, deliberate actions.
I see.
It's about choosing to be kind, to be informed, to be engaged with our communities and the world around us.
It's like that saying, be the change you wish to see in the world.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's about taking responsibility for our own little corner of the universe.
I like that.
And, it's important to remember, we don't have to have it all figured out.
Right.
The generations before us, they didn't have all the answers either. They made mistakes, they stumbled, but they kept moving forward. They dared to imagine a better world. And then they took action, step by step, to create it.
So what's our next step then? What can we as individuals do to contribute to this legacy of progress?
Well, the beauty of it is that there's no one right answer. It's about finding what resonates with you, what ignites your passion, and then pursuing it with purpose.
Okay.
Maybe it's volunteering in your community.
Yeah.
Mentoring a young person, advocating for a cause you believe in, or even just sharing your knowledge and skills with others.
So it's about finding our own unique way to add our thread to the tapestry of human progress.
Beautifully put. And, it doesn't have to be something grand or heroic. Sometimes the most meaningful contributions come from the simplest acts of kindness or creativity or courage.
It's a good reminder that each of us has the potential to leave a positive mark on the world.
We do. We all have a story to tell, a contribution to make.
And those stories, those contributions, when you weave them all together, they create the narrative of human progress.
They do. It's a narrative that's been unfolding for millennia, and it's one that we all have the privilege of shaping it.
Wow, that's powerful. All of us across time and space contributing to this ongoing story of humanity. It really makes you think about what kind of world we want to create for future generations.
It does, doesn't it? What kind of world will we leave behind? And that's a question I'll leave with you, our listeners, to ponder.
A perfect ending note for this deep dive. I just want to say, I've learned so much today, and I hope you have too. We've journeyed from the ancient world to the frontiers of space, all to explore this really profound idea of legacy.
The big one.
It is what we inherit and what we pass on. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is this. We're not just passive recipients of the past. We are active participants in shaping the future. And that's a humbling and inspiring and ultimately empowering realization.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into this fascinating world of ideas.